Alright, making a video. Wearing my coveralls, which are, I do look great in coveralls. I don't know whether you can see that, but yeah, it does something for me. Anyway, trying to climb under houses today. Modern Mystic made a video, which on the subject, this general subject of the uselessness of attempting communication with the human race, which is sort of an interesting subject. And this Mystics of the Sands guy made some video about suffering, and somehow the only two connection really is, they both have mystic in their name, but I saw a connection in the, he did the Nietzsche thing, and it was about suffering, and kind of about the idea of what it is that people are after. So I'll play the end of his video after I talk a bit. Anyway, all right. So Mystic was talking about the TV shows. He's, spends some time every night, I suppose, entertainment and whatever. And what compels people, what drives people, what motivates people. And that gets to this issue of suffering, like why you suffer because you don't have something. And I was thinking about how Monty Python would look at that, and in terms of just chasing the penguin on the TV. I remember they used to make jokes about penguins on TVs for some reason, and but yeah, it's like everybody's got to have a penguin on your TV. If you don't have a penguin, you're a loser. And so we have these expectations about what the definition of living successfully is, or comfortably, or well. And I don't know if these definitions mean anything, because it's all internal, and the basics are kind of important. Keeping the roof over the head, kind of thing, in your health, and that kind of stuff, and somehow we can still mess up the game. You have these basic things in nice and tidy, and people will be lamenting because they don't have something else, and you're just almost saying, well, the rest of the game is just a head game. And why does the head why do we need entertainment even? Why do we need to voyage into fantasies and all of that kind of crap? And that also got me thinking, just because, I had to do some really unpleasant work I didn't want to do today. And I don't like doing any of the work I have to do most of the time anymore anyway. I just, I like gardening, I like doing certain things, but you say, okay, this is kind of just fun. You're simple, and it's repetitive, and you don't have to think, and that's nice. And it's like not having to do it is always nice too. Always having the luxury of not having to do some work. The work you do because you don't have to do it is always easier somehow. But there's just some stuff that's just yuck. You can't do it right, and you just gotta figure out some way to make it passable, kind of thing. It's just unpleasant for some reason. I don't know, that I haven't even got that quite figured out in my head, why I find it is more obnoxious than I ever did before. For some reason, there's some reason why I'm not as comfortable. I guess there's something else I want to do. I guess it's part of the problem. Maybe I want to think about physics, or I want to try to work on programming, or I want to do some other kind of thing, and I don't want to do the work thing I have to do, and because I have something else I want to do, I guess, is the real answer. And in the past, I guess I wasn't as driven to find something else to do. I don't know. There's something changed. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just working on that one myself, so I guess I'll leave that out there. So anyway, so back to this the fact that the human race doesn't find conversations about reality very interesting. Most humans I have some kind of vague notion of what reality is. Fluffy bunny, whatever, cute chicken, I don't know, whatever the thing is, and that's their definition of reality, and it doesn't go any further than that, and they don't worry about it any more than that. What will be, will be. So it sort of gets back to the mystics of the sand guy, because he's another one of these guys who just, he's even going to quote Nietzsche in here. This bullshit of, oh, it's just the way it is. Nature doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't have to know what it's doing, and blah 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 blah. And it's just this this silly idea that's supposed to be just taken, and it's not supposed to be questioned or judged or in any way should we be at all distressed. We should just be sheep and be manipulated by it and controlled by it and driven by it. And it's just stupid. I mean, to me, it's just preposterously. It's just so. Yeah, it's insanely negligent of logical responsibility. Taking any account for having a brain that thinks. Just let Bugs Bunny tell you what to do. What would Bugs Bunny say? Should we just put that on the bumper stick? What would SpongeBob say? Let's all just be, as flat and as simplistic as your cartoons. So anyway, I don't know if I have too much more to say on that. It just is something, that it's curious what stimulates people at certain points in their existence, and they find certain things interesting and compelling. But it's also addictive, and I think that's all it is, really. It's just drama addiction, soap opera addiction. All these things are basically just soap operas, television shows, and there's just not much else happening. Okay, so you're just they just hook you enough where you just keep playing along to see what happens, they start you off with a little Red Riding Hood's walking through the forest, blah blah blah, and you're going to want to kind of find out, well, what, you're going to get eaten by alligators, what's going to happen. So you're hooked, and so you want to know what the end of the story is. Once they start the story, once they create characters, you want to see what happens to the characters, or whatever it is. But it is just an addiction. I've been through it a couple of times, so I kind of know. I mean, I kind of did that, been there, done that, where I gave a shit about certain things, and I said, well, why am I giving a shit about this crap? And it was entirely psychological. And as soon as you got free of it, as soon as you separate yourself a little bit of distance, you lived without it, without noticing the absence, the void. And you became interested in other things. All of a sudden now you had this time to maybe do some thinking. Yeah. So anyway, I've argued that the trick is that we have to make this idea of talking philosophy, describing reality accurately or something like that, modeling it, with conceptual ideas about right, wrong, and efficient and practical, all those kinds of words. We have to do that in a more entertaining way, more dramatic way, a more compelling way, more interesting way. So yeah, it's like you do have to turn into like Schoolhouse Rock or something, right, where you teach a few facts, but you got to shove songs and sing and dance in there a little bit, because people need to be entertained. So it's almost like you have to write it on a girl's butt. Yeah, maybe that's how to do philosophy. Unfortunately, and something like that anyway. And the whole thing is just all very depressing and tragic and sad and pitiful. And yeah, I wish I had a better game to play. Yeah, I guess that's all I can say. I just wish there was a better game. Anyway, we'll play some of this crappy video. This is a nice enough guy, but he's just so full of shit.
Take a hostile attitude to life and say, you're not good enough, you should be something else. Why isn't it something else? Etc.
Yeah. So instead of being rational and asking perfectly rational questions, right? They drive you to a place called Fun Park, or Life. Um, and yeah, it's really shabby. It's got grease and slime and crud all over everything, and blood and guts gooking out of windows and whatnot. And yeah, you ask the logical question: why am I here? What's the function? What's the purpose? I'm supposed to what? I'm supposed to enjoy this? Oh, is that it? Really? Oh, you mean it's a replicating molecule, and I'm not supposed to do a goddamn thing but fucking reproduce and die. Oh, that was the original plan, and we've just put up these fake little facades of we're doing something else, right? So the dancing lady house and the fun house, these are all just canards. They're just lies, just storefronts you've put in front of replicate and die, which is the agenda of the nature, right? That's the biological function. There's no other function. Replicate and die. And I'm supposed to think that's rational and sensible. Just because you've put lipstick on that pig, I'm supposed to say, okay, let's have some fun. No, I'm not going to do that. You're a silly person.
Existence is basically innocent of all this, as strange as it may seem.
Yeah, it's just stupid. It's not about passing judgment for the sake of passing judgment. It's describing it for what it is, okay? If your car's broken, you're not going to swear at it because you think the car's going to get hurt feelings and reform. No, you're going to say, it sucks. It's a piece of shit. It's a lemon. All right? You're not going to sit there and pretend it's not.
Nietzsche made this point that existence is basically innocent, and he was right.
Well, you says you. You're just as stupid as he is, all right? He turned nature. He said there's no God, and then he said, well, now what do we do? Well, let's make the DNA to God. And so he made DNA into a God and said, yeah, just be the biggest, baddest bug you can be. And therefore you've accomplished something because you satisfied the mission statement of a DNA molecule. Wow, that's some fucking accomplishment. I don't see much point in having 100 billion neurons if that's what you're going to waste them on. Oh, I'm just going to do what the DNA tells me.
Sense that this system, this conjoining of facts and beings exists, and there is nothing within it or behind it or beyond it.
Yeah, well, who says there's anybody's demanding that be that's not the point, right? All you're doing is describing, is it functional, okay? Is Greasy Spoon Shithole Dive Crud House a place you go to eat breakfast? Do you eat in this shithole? That's the question. Is this thing functional enough to sit there and buy a ticket to it, asshole?
Which causes suffering in the sense of intentionally doing suffering.
Well, again, attention. So you keep talking as if somebody's expecting there to be somebody you put in prison for something, or something that somehow it only matters if there's some intention behind it. It doesn't. Accidents aren't intentional. No one intended for Fukushima to happen. Right? There was nobody intending that to be the consequence, but the fact that it is a consequence, and the fact that we should be disturbed by it, and the fact that we should do something to correct for it, is a fact. We don't need somebody to blame, all right, to figure out that we don't want it to happen again.
Bring to someone. It just goes on, and...
Yeah, it goes on because imbeciles, mostly imbeciles, okay, embrace it and endorse it. Okay? Stupid people. The dumber you are, the more you're likely to have kids. That's just a fact. Alright? And obviously all the animals are completely ignorant, and that's the reason why they step into all that mud. If you think if they were informed and told the truth, that they would choose to play the DNA role, they would swim up the stream and spawn if they knew what the game was? I don't think they would. I think they'd say, fuck you, asshole.
We have a nervous system which is sensitive to conditions, and it responds to those conditions.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. What is this silly shit? Yeah, we have a nervous system capable of creating the fundamental forces are attraction and repulsion. Okay, and we are manipulated to do this function of replicating and getting the fuck out of the way, dying. Okay, so DNA can sit there and do silly gladiator war perpetually and just keep piling rocks on the silly little rock monsters. Okay, let's add one more rock. Let's add one more little feature. Oh, let's make his vision. Let's give him 3 eyes, and let's give him whatever. I mean, it's just 14 belly buttons. I mean, what's the difference? It doesn't make any goddamn difference whatsoever. It's not for any fucking purpose whatsoever. Alright? It's just a fucking game that a stupid dumb molecule accidentally fell into. The spiral of perpetual, nonsensical modification for no accomplishment. Tool monsters.
And if those conditions are of such a kind as to be a burden, if it's too hot, it's painful. If it's too cold, it's painful.
Blah, blah, blah.
Etc.
Blah, blah, blah. Brilliant.
But there isn't anything in life
blah, blah.
which dictates
blah, blah.
suffering.
I mean, who makes any sense out of this? You might as well change your name to Mystic Zombie Picture Show. What the fuck? What is that? That doesn't necessitate. No, it's just the fundamental function of consciousness is to create these conflicting sensations of attraction and repulsion. That's the fundamental purpose. The whole reason why it exists is because it can create these obnoxious sensations to force us to behave in certain ways. Shit. And oh yeah, there's no necessity. No, it's just a primary function of consciousness.
I will also be presenting you with the following factlet. The most important thing about suffering, I mean besides that it's painful and
please,
things, is that it always ends. There's that British
yeah, the stupidest thing to say in the universe, right? For 500 million years, has it ended? Does it really end? No, it doesn't end because some asshole decides to have kids and create more people to suffer. So the suffering doesn't end. It goes on and on and on and on. The slaves existed for hundreds of years. They suffered the same suffering over and over and over and over again. So this is just bullshit. It doesn't end. It ends for one individual consciousness. Yes, it ends for that individual. But guess what? Our individuality isn't 1 in a million or 1 in a billion or 1 in a trillion. No, we're rather common. There's probably 1,000 varieties of human being, and that's it. You're 1 in 1,000. Maybe you're 1 in 100, okay, of a type. And that type will keep existing because assholes talking bibble babble mush fucking bullshit Nietzsche crap will keep playing an idiotic game because they can't figure out, oh, it's just a DNA molecule replicating.
Rick, that goes, we scream and yell and moan and cry, but in the end we must all die, etc.
Yeah, that's just an added burden that's piled on top of it, okay? That the fact that you're going to die and you're likely to die moaning and screaming and not being very pleasant. And that's right. And then the newborn baby comes into the world screaming and yelling to just end up doing it all over again. So yeah, if it was over, if it would end, I wouldn't be making a fucking argument, jackass. But no, it doesn't end because assholes like you just keep saying this bibbly-babbly-boo mush about how the DNA molecule isn't to blame and we should just keep doing what it tells us to do. Why? Because you're an asshole.
So, suffering always comes to an end.
Idiot. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just idiotic. Yeah, it doesn't end until we stop it. Alright? You have to stop making the things that suffer for suffering to end. You can't figure that out? You really can't? You know, oh, I ate all the frosting. You know, say you have a tub of frosting and you eat all the frosting. Does that mean the frosting doesn't exist anymore? No, apparently there's frosting plants that are producing new frosting all the fucking time. So guess what? You can't eat the damn frosting. You can't sit on the chair for the last time. You can't do things and have it be the last or the end. It won't be over. It's not over until you make it over. On purpose. Using your intelligence. Anyway, I didn't hate this guy before, but yeah, I find that just obnoxious. Anybody quoting Nietzsche, fuck you. You're an idiot. Nietzsche was a lunatic and an asshole. Yeah, he had a way with words, and yeah, he got a couple things right. God's dead, and there's no free will. But otherwise, he was an idiot and an asshole and a jerk and a fucktard. And so are you, apparently. Bowing to a DNA molecule.